Good afternoon. It is 1 p.m. here in Kenya's capital, Nairobi, and this is the Ambassador with me, your Ambassador Ibrahim Said. And this is where we debunk global diplomacy and geopolitics. We have a lot lined up for you, and on to our first story. Cameroon's election spotlight is heating up as UN officials today urge the government to guarantee free and transparent polls. Speaking from Geneva, UN human rights officials cited growing restrictions on opposition parties, banned political gatherings, and irregularities in voting registration. The warning comes just weeks after President Paul Biya, now 92, confirmed he'll run for an 8th term. Is drawing international scrutiny, with the United Nations office calling on government to ensure a free and transparent process. During a press briefing in Geneva, the UN Human Rights Office raised concern over increased restriction on opposition parties, including banned rallies, blocked candidates, and irregularities in voter registration. The warning comes as President Paul Biya, now 92 years old, confirmed he will seek an 8th term in office. Biya has ruled Cameroon since 1982, making him one of Africa's longest-serving leaders.
Ahead of the presidential election in October, growing restrictions on civic and democratic space in Cameroon are raising fears about whether voters can freely express their will.
His tenure has been marked by allegations of corruption, violent separatism, unrest in English-speaking region, spillover attack from Boko Haram militant near Nigerian border. With the election approaching, the UN is urging authorities to uphold democratic principles and protect political space.
We are today calling on the government of Cameroon to ensure an environment conducive to a free, transparent, inclusive and genuine vote.
Right groups warn that further crackdown could undermine public trust and deepen tension in an already fragile political landscape. If re-elected, Biya will remain in power until the age of 99. GBS News. Away from that story, for more than a decade, the UN Peace Building Fund has supported complementary efforts, including conflict resolution, sustainable agriculture, and access to healthcare. The UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has had the opportunity to witness this work firsthand around the country, where the United Nations will be supporting Guinea fully. UN has promised to work extensively with young people who make up a full 60% of Papua New Guinea's population and are one of the nation's greatest assets. Let's have a look.
I want to express our country's profound appreciation on the Secretary General of the United Nations, His Excellency Antonio Guterres. Profound honor and privilege for Papua New Guinea to receive him at our most important month.
First of all, our country team is working hard. We have no UN agenda for Papua New Guinea. Our agenda is to support the government in its strategies and policies, and all our agencies are doing their best to fully support the government. But on top of that, we remain with our strong advocacy for the reform of international financial institutions. It is absolutely essential that developing countries have a stronger participation, and that participation being translated into more resources to the developing countries that need them to overcome the enormous challenges of development. If you have heard me, I mentioned that we need to have effective debt relief. We need to multiply, as it was proposed in the meeting recently took place in Sevilla, multiply by 3 the volume of resources multilateral development banks put at the disposal of developing countries. And at the same time, we need to have multilateral development banks being able to leverage much more private finance and private investment in support of developing countries, de-risking them in order to make sure that they see it's worth investing in developing countries. So, on one hand, with our meager resources, but our total commitment, we are here to support the government. On the other hand, we'll be making global advocacy for the creation of justice and...
Now, China is marking the 80th anniversary of victory in the Second World War with a grand military parade in Beijing. The elaborate ceremony held at Tiananmen Square showcased the country's military might and honored millions who sacrificed their lives during the war. Here are the details.
China today marked the 80th anniversary of its victory in the Second World War with a grand military parade in Beijing. President Xi Jinping led world leaders, foreign dignitaries, and thousands of citizens in commemorating the historic victory over fascism. The parade featured thousands of troops, advanced weaponry, and aerial displays, symbolizing China's transformation from a war-torn nation into a global power.
I would like to pay high tribute to our veteran soldiers and comrades, patriots, and officers who fought in war and resistance against Japanese aggression. And to the Chinese nationals from home and abroad who made important contributions to our victory. I would also like to express my sincere thanks to foreign governments and friends that supported and assisted the Chinese people in resisting aggression.
Xi emphasized that China's development is rooted in peace and unity, pledging to safeguard national sovereignty and promote global stability. Veterans and survivors were also celebrated, with tributes underscoring China's role in defeating Japanese aggression.
History cautions us that humanity rises and falls together. Only when all countries and nations treat each other as equals, coexist in peace and support each other, can we uphold common security, eradicate the root cause of war, and prevent the recurrence of historical tragedies. Comrades and friends, the Chinese nation is a great nation that is never intimidated by any bullies and always values independence and forges ahead. In the past and faith of the whole humanity.
This year's commemoration comes amid rising regional tensions and renewed focus on China's military modernization efforts. Analysts say the display served both as a tribute to history and a statement of strength on the world stage. Molin Rono for GBS News.
In a more devastating story is that preliminary reports from de facto authorities in Afghanistan indicate that at least 1,400 people have been killed and more than 3,100 injured. This was announced by UN spokesperson Stephanie in UN headquarters in New York.
At the United Nations, officials said the death toll from Sunday's powerful earthquake in Afghanistan continues to rise, with thousands killed and injured. The UN says preliminary reports from de facto authorities in Afghanistan indicate at least 1,400 dead and more than 3,100 injured after a massive earthquake struck Nangarhar province.
On the ground, our humanitarian colleagues tell us that preliminary reports from the de facto authorities now indicate at least 1,400 people have been killed and more than 3,100 injured. Casualty figures are expected to rise further as search and rescue teams reach affected areas. We have dispatched at least 25 assessment teams to the region to assess the situation. We're already supporting the response by deploying critical items to areas that can be reached.
UN spokesperson Stefan Dujarric told reporters in New York that Secretary General Antonio Guterres expressed deep sadness over the tragedy, sending condolences to the victims' families and urging the international community to provide urgent resources, warning that humanitarian funding is far from sufficient.
A statement which the Secretary General said he is deeply saddened by the devastating loss of life caused by the Sunday's earthquake in the eastern Nangarhar province in Afghanistan. He expressed his solidarity with the people of Afghanistan, extended his sincere condolences to the families and victims, and wished a speedy recovery to those injured. He also said the UN in Afghanistan will spare no efforts to assist people, but noted that current humanitarian funding is insufficient to address the needs. He called for additional resources to be urgently dispatched to respond to the tragedy and crisis at hand.
The United Nations has dispatched 25 assessment teams to the affected area and is already delivering critical supplies. The UN Refugee Agency is deploying tents, blankets, and solar lamps from stockpiles in Kabul, while priority needs include shelter, medical supplies, drinking water, and food assistance.
For example, our colleagues at UNHCR, the UN Refugee Agency, are deploying pre-positioned essential relief items from stockpiles in Kabul. That includes tents, that also includes blankets and solar lamps. Our humanitarian colleagues note that an immediate priority needs to include emergency shelter, critical medical supplies, drinking water, and emergency food assistance. The de facto authorities have launched an immediate response, flying hundreds of medevac cases to regional hospitals for care and clearing blocked roads.
Authorities in Afghanistan have also begun flying hundreds of the injured to regional hospitals and clearing roads to reach survivors. Emergency Relief Coordinator Tom Fletcher has appealed for international support, with the United Nations preparing an emergency funding appeal.
Humanitarian partners are also seeking ways to mobilize additional air assets to reach those in need. Shelter material and medical supplies are running low, and the current funding is insufficient to address all needs, as we've been saying. Our emergency relief coordinator, Tom Fletcher, called for the international community's support to scale up emergency relief efforts. We and our partners are developing an emergency appeal, and we'll keep you posted.
Now, after that story, the ambassador will take a short break. We will be right back with more as we debunk global diplomacy and geopolitics.
What are the roles of a husband? I will allow him to introduce himself. Welcome, guest. Who is a husband to start with? And why is a husband associated with marriage?
Absolutely. He normally says the marriage is a very interesting institution whereby you're given a certificate before you graduate.
What are we looking at? What are the, so to speak, do's and don'ts, or rather, what should one understand before they get into marriage?
And love in this sense that you really are emotionally connected. For me as a man, that's different. I am more driven towards making sure I provide, more driven towards making sure that I go hard, I don't give up, that I am more aggressive. That is a very biological and masculine trait. But I believe that the first role of a husband, Eunice, is spiritual leadership and direction. Spiritual.
Can you be that open?
Ufadhili umekuwa vipi?
Nadhania ukiangalia our culture ama our mindset kwa hii nchi, watu wanaona ni kama michezo hakuna pesa.
Nini itakufanya uende ukaekeze kwa kandanda?
So ukitazama uangalie kuna ile mambo ya impact ambayo utapata kwa your brand. So if you want to align your brand na hiyo football, it's a plus.
Yes. So what we are trying to do with our investors now, I can tell you for free, HPesa, we also have Nutrien, who are fintech companies, financial technology companies, who now we are working together, they have come to us because of the numbers we have.
Maybe if you look, maybe FC and other teams, are you regretting when you put your money
in FC?
Not at all. Not at all. We say.
So today we are diving into a topic that has become rather popular right here in Kenya, the K-pop culture.
I would say K-pop invokes creativity, like mega creativity. I have friends who are creative and you'll see you've done that and they're like, yeah.
An ex told me that K-pop girls, K-pop stan girls, who's like, the men you stan look like women, and you aim to get a man that looks like that. So if you fail to find a man like that, because obviously you're in Kenya, sisi ndo tuko, you're not going to find a pretty man.
For me, it's like I have two personalities at this point. I have my normal life and I have my army life. Because when I get into my army life, it's just like a whole new world, a community full of people who don't judge, people who accept you.
Learning Korean from a Kenyan can sometimes mess you up because they pronounce words differently, and when you speak to a native, it's like, hold up, what did you say?
I've never met like a K-pop fan. I don't know why.
What am I?
No, it's like, not when people want to like express themselves like, I'm a K-pop fan. Unless you see them like wearing like a branded t-shirt or a branded hoodie, you realize that they're K-pop fans.
The main campaign of BTS is loving yourself, right? And K-pop has a lot of drawbacks, just like anything else. Too much of something is poisonous, yeah? And one of the drawbacks is it comes with beauty because they have these absurd beauty standards. While BTS passed this message that you're supposed to love yourself, embrace yourself, you're just perfect the way you are. You know, you don't have to eat less to be beautiful. You're beautiful from the inside, right? Get into BTS, it's hard to come out.
Okay.
Everywhere, GBS.
Welcome back and thank you for keeping it locked here at GBS TV. Now, the United Nations is appealing for a greater international support to help end the suffering of millions of displaced Syrians. UN Deputy High Commissioner for Refugees Kelly Clements has wrapped up a 5-day mission to Lebanon and Syria, where she urged the world to back efforts for peace and stability. Clements met with officials, returning families and newly arrived refugees. She said thousands of Syrians are choosing to go home, some after more than a decade away, bringing the little they own as they attempt to rebuild their lives since the fall of the Assad government. More than 1.2 million Syrians have returned, including nearly 200,000 from Lebanon this year alone. The UNHCR has stepped up support with transport, cash assistance, and relief supply to make return safe and sustainable. Clement stressed that both Syria and host countries like Lebanon still need urgent aid, warning that families cannot rebuild without sustained international commitment.
The rebuilding begins now, and this is exactly when we need to have a lot of support from the international community. Every community here in Syria needs everything, the very basics. The families are coming, as you can see with the trucks behind me, they're coming with their household effects that they have accumulated over 14 years. Everything from chairs to rugs to blankets. And this, they're moving their life, they're taking a chance, and they're trying to rebuild. And family after family tells me they're coming back because this is home. And we want to be able to be there with our partners to support Syria rebuild for a peaceful and more prosperous region.
President Donald Trump has said that he will deploy National Guard troops to fight crime in Chicago, an extraordinary effort to militarize the country's third-largest city that was likely triggered a legal battle with local officials. Hours earlier, a federal judge had blocked Trump's administration from using the military to fight crime in California, a ruling that does not apply to other states. However, the judge noted that Trump's stated intentions to deploy troops to Chicago and other cities provide support for his ruling. Since taking office, Trump has attempted to broaden the role of military on U.S. soil, which critics say is dangerous expansion of executive authority that could spark tension between the military and ordinary citizen, as Davis Karani reports.
President Donald Trump has issued a barrage of executive orders and taken other unilateral steps to achieve policy goals, ranging from curtailing immigrations to deploying the Texas National Guard for deployment in Illinois, along with the federal agents from ICE, Customs and Border Control, the Department of Homeland Security, and other agencies.
Chicago is very interesting because I watched Pritzker get up and say we don't need help, we're safe. But 2 weeks ago, they had 6 people murdered, and they had 24 people hit by bullets. Last week, as you know, it was 7 people, 24 people hit, and 7 people died. And then over the last 2 days, that was the crown jewel. They had, I guess, 9 or 10 killed, and 50 hit with bullets. And you have this governor get up, who's a terrible governor. Probably he and Gavin Newsom would be probably the 2 worst and most naive. They're naive. Either they're naive or they're very untruthful. And he'll say, we don't want any protection. We don't need. So in the last 3 weeks, he's lost almost 20 people killed. There's no place in the world, including you can go to Afghanistan, you can go to places that you would think of. They don't even come close to this. Chicago is a hellhole right now. Baltimore is a hellhole right now.
Trump said that he will position armed federal agents and stage military vehicles on federal property, such as the Great Lake Naval Base, including individuals relocated from Los Angeles. Chicago has long had high levels of gun violence, but crime, including homicide, which declined in the last year.
Parts of Los Angeles are terrible. If we didn't put out the fires, and I mean the other fires, the bullet fires, they didn't do a good job with, they should have had the water coming down, like I said. You know, we had to release the water. We had to go in and release the water to LA. It's so badly run. But if I didn't send the National Guard into Los Angeles, I would be making an announcement today. I'd be talking about Huntsville, and I'd simultaneously be saying, by the way, the Olympics is not coming.
The Americans opposed to Trump's decision had camped in Chicago, urging him to stop deploying federal police and the National Guards to the city, but it seems like their plea fell into the deaf's ear.
No federal troops in the city of Chicago. No militarized force in the city of Chicago. We're going to defend our democracy in the city of Chicago. We're going to protect the humanity of every single person in the city of Chicago.
I think Trump is turning ICE and the National Guard into his private militia. He wants to take over physically, and we have to stop it. And we have to use any tool we can.
In Chicago, we reject a billionaire's tyranny on our city. We reject a billionaire and his cabinet of billionaires who take from Medicaid, who defund public education.
I think our money should be moved from war back down to our communities where the money came from in the first place.
There's many years where every single week somebody was killed for many consecutive weeks. This went on for years. And then we had, last week it was announced that nobody was killed last week. And I made that announcement in front of a very distinguished leader of a country. And I'm saying proudly, ladies and gentlemen, nobody was killed in Washington, D.C. this week. He looked at me like, what's that all about? I say, yeah, we have a little bit of a crime problem, and we don't have a crime problem in Washington anymore. And the mayor has been very helpful, and the police commission has been very helpful, and it's been a great team. And I would love to have Governor Pritzker call me. I'd gain respect for him and say, we do have a problem, and we'd love you to send in the troops, because you know what? The people, they have to be protected. I saw today on one of your networks, not a friendly network, really the opposite, I would say, very unfriendly network. And they interviewed about 12 people on this morning. Most of them were African American, they were black. And they were saying, please, please, please let the president send in. These were people from Chicago. Please, we need help. We need help. We can't walk outside. We're petrified. If the governor of Illinois would call me up, I would love to do it. Now, we're going to do it anyway. We have the right to do it because I have an obligation to protect this country.
Davis Karani for GBS News.
Away from that, Russian President Vladimir Putin and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un met in Beijing after joining Chinese President Xi Jinping at a massive military parade marking 80 years since the end of World War II. The parade showcased China's military strength, while the subsequent talk highlighted deepening alliance. Putin praised North Korean troops fighting alongside Russian forces in Ukraine, with Pyongyang reportedly sending thousands of soldiers and weapons. Kim pledged even greater support under the 2024 strategic partnership. The meeting, hosted by China, underscores a united front among Beijing, Moscow, and Pyongyang as Western nations stayed away. In a more interesting news, all eyes will be on Harambee Stars this Friday as they gear up to face Gambia in a crucial 2026 FIFA World Cup qualifiers right here on home soil. With qualifications hopes still alive, Kenya will be looking to capitalize on home advantages and secure a vital 3 points. Fans across the country are bracing for a thrilling showdown, and the pressure is on. Let's get more from our reporter Omala Bryan.
Harambee Stars are back in action this Friday as they take on Gambia in a crucial World Cup qualifier at Kasarani. With the race to 2026 heating up, Kenya will be pushing for all 3 points in front of their home ground. Head coach Benny McCarthy has named a strong squad and expectations are high. Gambia, however, possess a serious threat and won't go down easy without a fight. Kickoff is set for 4 p.m. and fans are urged to turn up in numbers since it's a must-win match for Stars and they are ready to shine. Brian Omala, reporting for GBS TV, Nairobi.
Interestingly, here at GBS, we also wish Harambee Stars all the best. And now with that, we have come to the end of our news bulletin. It's here on Ambassador 1 p.m. Follow all our stories at GBS TV Africa. It's updated throughout the day. We meet every Wednesday as we debunk global diplomacy and geopolitics. My name is Said Ibrahim. Thank you for your time and company.